What's going on, LEGO fans? Welcome back. Alex here. I am making this video in response to some suggestions that I've had about my approach to combating certain enemies to LEGO displays. It doesn't even have to be specifically LEGO displays. It could be anything that you're really displaying on tables or shelves throughout your home. But these are a couple of things that I have had a real struggle with as I have collected LEGO on this scale. So I'm going to cite these two specific common enemies that I struggle with, what I do to reduce the risk and help protect my LEGO City and other displays from these common enemies. And chances are you struggle with these as well. The biggest common enemy to your LEGO collection is going to be very small children. Children that have a hard time understanding rules, right? I will share a quick story. When I was a teenager, my older sisters, I have 4 older sisters, and they were having children, and their children, of course, would be over at our home, my parents' home, and they would come into my room. And when I wasn't there one day, oh my goodness, their kids destroyed my LEGO city. They were about halfway through before I got up there and realized what was going on. And it was a sad day, but that was tough. And it's tough to have rules up there other than, closing your door or keeping an eye on it and just making sure they don't get in there. Now it's a little bit different as an adult. Obviously, this is my own home, and only my children are going to have access to it. And I do have a latch on the door that only an adult can unlock. So that means that to come down here, they have to come down here with me or with their mom. Now, growing up, I have 2 kids here. My oldest, Josh, was really good with following the rules. He would come get me if anything broke. Jimmy, on the other hand, is not like that at all. He does not follow the rules. If there's a rule, he will go out of his way to break it. He will grab little people and mix them all up and take their heads off, and I'll find constantly various body parts of LEGO people throughout the city, and I have lost, I know, many pieces to certain sets because of him. And you know what? That's just the way it is, unfortunately. And yes, I could be more like the dad on the LEGO movie that's very, very strict, but I am just not going to be like that. I think it's very fun to share the hobby as a family and have fun with it, so I'm not going to restrict their access like that. But it is somewhat controlled, like I said, with that lock, as well as having it on a table that does restrict access to their reach. When I have visitors here, visiting, whenever somebody wants to see my city, I'm more than happy to accommodate that request. I've had many visits down here with people, mostly with children, obviously. And my favorite visits are when the children have had the expectation set that they do not touch anything. Those go the smoothest. Probably not the funnest for the kids, but those go the smoothest for me. But they still have a good time. They ask a lot of questions, and inevitably, one of them will ask me if they can play with a car. And I say, yes, go for it. Play with the car, drive it up and down these roads that you see, and they have a blast just playing with one car doing that. There are other visits, unfortunately, where there's been no expectations set. So I watch in great anxiety as they just go to town with their play, which is usually pretty hard play all around the city. And once they're gone, I'll come back down, right down, guys, and I'll clean everything up, put everything back to normal, because everything has its place. It's your city. Everything has its spot it goes in. Everything's displayed in a certain way, and your cars are in certain areas, your people are in certain areas, and but it's not bad. It doesn't take me long, but I'll tell you, it is a source of anxiety watching small children run around your city like this without a parent supervising because they're upstairs socializing. Anyway, so if you are watching this and you inevitably come and see my city, obviously you're more than welcome to, but I would ask that you set some ground rules with your children to not touch anything unless they have permission. That would be great for me. Thank you so much on that. So that is the first common enemy, is little children. And hey, can you blame them? No, you can't. But we do have to have rules for our cities, especially when they get to a certain scale such as this. The second common enemy is dust. Dust is inevitable. No matter how or what we do to try to reduce it, dust still happens, and there's no getting around it. And my city is not exempt. I get a lot of compliments, people asking me or saying like, wow, it looks so clean. How do you keep it so clean? And my response is always the same. I say, I dust it every so often. But there has been some questions about how I dust. And I've done some videos, and I guess they've helped a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to tell you how I dust my city and basically my entire collection and how often I have to do it. So here is my mid-90s space armies, and here is my army that fights dust. These are my favorite tools that I have to get rid of dust. And the first one here is going to be a vacuum with any kind of very fine or kind of horsehair brush at the end. These come in various shapes and sizes, but this works very well at vacuuming off very large surfaces such as the roads and roofs of buildings, and is also quite gentle. You can do sides of buildings as well. The next item is a Swiffer Duster, and that's a very common household item that is used to dust pretty much any surface. But I use this a lot to actually dust the shelves of my Star Wars shelves upstairs, and it does a pretty decent job of dusting most surfaces. The problem with the Swiffer Duster, though, is that as you're dusting certain surfaces of buildings, it can snag on Lego pieces that can drive you a little bit crazy. But other than that, it does pretty good on larger scale surfaces. The last I have here is a paintbrush. Now this works wonders on reaching those very hard to reach areas of your Lego buildings. If you have hard to reach areas or nooks and crannies, spaces between walls, this can get in there and get that dust out and make it look like it's brand new again. So if you haven't done this already, pick up a paintbrush, something that's very small like this that can reach those areas, and you'll find that it does a very good job without breaking a bunch of Lego pieces. Now, unfortunately, there's no getting around the fact that you do have to remove people and cars out of the way. So if I'm going to be dusting this area, I have to remove all these cars out of the way. I've got to get all these people out of the way so that I can bring my Swiffer Duster in here and start dusting around everything. So there is that part, and that's the time-consuming part. Not so much the dusting, but the removal and adding people back to your Lego town after you've done the dusting. Now be careful when you display your Lego sets in high traffic areas. They do get dusty very, very quickly. The Star Wars Lego sets in my office, that is the main floor of my home. You get a lot of traffic through there. There's a lot of opening and closing doors to the outside, and I find that I dust the office upstairs probably once every 2 to 3 weeks at least. And it's also deceptive because a lot of those sets are gray, and gray hides dust very well because it's kind of the same color, and it could actually be very, very dirty and you would not know it. So make sure that you are taking those down and doing some more detailed cleaning on them. I do not recommend an aerosol spray can because while it looks great if you push the dust away, that dust is just being pushed to another location. So I would not recommend doing that. Getting rid of the dust is the objective here, not spreading it around to other areas of your collection. Accessing every area to dust it is very difficult. That's why I created a little access hole or square that I can poke my body through and dust around that area in the downtown area, because that's a very large table and I just simply cannot reach that far. Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, there are areas that I cannot reach unless I climb up on the table, and that area, one in particular, is down here in front of the downtown area, the city square, as well as down here in front of Ninjago City. I do have to get up onto the table, so sometimes I'll ask Josh to get up there for me and get things dusted off. He's usually pretty compliant with me. He's a good helper, so it all works out pretty well. Now, full disclosure, it is impossible for me to clean every nook and cranny of this massive Lego city down here, despite my best efforts. So that's why when I am reorganizing a particular area, and you guys who have watched my channel for years know that this city is constantly changing and evolving, and as I move Lego sets around, that's when I take the opportunity to actually do a more detailed cleaning on them, and that's actually how I'm able to keep it clean, is those routine cleanings and of course the opportunistic cleanings when I'm reorganizing. One final piece of advice before I end my video, and that's going to be surrounding the Lego Simpsons house. I bought this from Bricks and Minifigs used, and when I bought it, the roof elements, always brown roof elements, were just covered in this grime. It was dust and dirt and junk that had been just accumulated for, I assume, years, and I could not get it off with the traditional cleaning approach. So I had to take it upstairs in my sink and scrub it with soap and water with a I guess a dish scrubber. That's what it took in order to get that off. So please do what you can to avoid allowing your Lego or your whatever your collection is to reaching that point of dirtiness. It's just kind of nasty. The reason that my city looks so clean, guys, is because I make the effort, not to boast, but it is a lot of hard work to keep it shiny and clean. And even as you look at it now, it may appear clean, but there are several areas that unfortunately are covered with dust that I will just have to get to at another time. Well, guys, I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the suggestions. Keep them coming. I always appreciate your all support, and hopefully everybody's having a good summer and able to get out a little bit and have some fun. Until the next video, you guys enjoy your day, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.